I'm going to be going with view B, which does not have the straps. I know. Hello! Another day, another project. Today I am starting my 1840s corset and I'm using Black Snail Patterns, and this video is kindly sponsored by Black Snail Patterns. If you'd like 15% off any digital pattern, you can use the link down below or the promo code Pocketful of Poseys. So, 1840s corset, it's not that different than my other corset that I made, my blue one, my summer corset. However, I know. However, I am going to be doing, Kitty! I'm going to be doing view B instead of view A. View A has the straps, which does make it seem a little earlier time period. However, the pattern says that since it's lower cut on the sides, it may not be best for large busts. Kitty, kitty! So I'm going to be going with view B, which does not have the straps. I know. Come here. So, Lucius and I are going to be cutting out the pattern. Well, the pattern's already cut out, but I need to put it on my fabric and cut that out. And I'm just using some nice sturdy white twill. I don't have any coutil, and I will probably be lining this. I have to look at the pattern again. Hey, I have to look at the pattern again and see. I think it does call for lining, but I'll have to make sure. But anyway, that is that, and fortifying sip of tea, and off we go. I began by cutting out my cotton lining and cotton twill. I marked the seam line on the gusset pieces. Gussets are first. I ironed the edges of the gusset slits to the inside and lined up the gusset's right side of gusset to wrong side of slit. The lining and fashion fabric are done the exact same way. I basted all of the gussets in place to keep them secure while sewing. After sewing, I removed the basting threads, and I have misplaced every seam ripper I own. I suspect Hercules. Lucius helped sew the lining gussets. Confession, I didn't baste the lining layer gussets. Next, I reinforced the gusset bottoms with satin stitches in a pretty blue embroidery floss. The blue creates a lovely contrast on the white corset. My next step was pinning and sewing all of the corset lining pieces together. Alright, I have sewn all of my lining pieces together, and the next step is to sew the main pieces together. It's going well. Everything is going smoothly so far. Ooh, I need to re-sew that right there. Okay, so one little mistake right here. I'm going to sew the main fabric together, but I will have to wait and do that probably tomorrow morning because I need to get ready for work. Hi, Lucius. He's back. All right. And then I pinned and sewed my fashion fabric pieces together. I began putting the lining and outer fabrics together, beginning at the center backs. Then I remembered that I had intended to add some extra boning channels in the center of the side fronts and side backs to give me a little bit more support. I used 1 inch wide twill tape and sewed down the center of the tape and then each side, creating 2 boning channels in the center of each piece. Now to sew the center back lining and fashion fabrics right sides together. So I'm working on the corset, and I had sewn in the extra boning twill tape, boning channels. Words are hard. And I sewed the back lining and outer fabric together, and then I realized I had not yet sewn down the seams for the boning channels and the seams. So I'm going to do that now. Off we go. The seam allowance is used for boning channels. The next step was a bit confusing. The pattern said to sew the front facings, and I didn't recall seeing any mention of facings previously, but hey, it seemed like the best way to insert the busk, so I cut some and pinned them to the center fronts. I marked placement for the busk loops to go through. Thor needed some love then, and he also needed to knock things down with his tail. I sewed the center front to the facing, skipping over the opening marks and backstitching the beginning and end of each opening. Next, I inserted the right side busk loops into the openings at the center front. I then marked the placement for the stud side of the busk on the left center front. I basted around the busk before sewing around it using a zipper foot to get as close as possible to the busk. Then I used an awl to poke holes for the busk studs to go through. Hercules helped. I sewed around the stud side of the busk and removed the basting threads on both sides of the busk. Now it's time to secure the lining to the outer fabric by lining up the seams and stitching in the ditch down each seam. White on white is difficult to see. I used synthetic whalebone for boning, and I used 2 pieces at the center back and in each seam. For the boning channels I added, I used a single layer of boning. I also realized that I forgot to add the parallel boning channel at the center back, so I just did that over the lining with 1/2-inch twill tape. I then sewed the bottom edge of the corset and added bias tape to bind the edge. After trimming, I turned the bias tape to the inside and sewed it down. At this point, I felled the lining down to the facings at center front. I think I perhaps should have sewn the lining to the center front before adding the facings, but this worked just fine. Now to finish adding the boning. I sewed lace to the top edge of the corset and am binding the top edge with bias tape as well. Also, grommets were put in, but not filmed. After sewing the binding, I turned it over the raw edge to the inside and whip stitched it to the lining. I didn't want to sew over the lace trim. To floss the boning channels, I used the same blue embroidery floss and a pattern that was included in the instructions. On the added double boning channels, I used the same pattern across both channels. Okay, the corset is pretty much done. I need to put a hook and eye here at the top, and I realized as I was getting finished with this that I didn't have any lacing string, corset lacing stuff that I have used on other corsets. So I just used this ribbon, which is not the best, but it'll do for the time being. And so yeah, it's a little big. I should have done a mock-up, but I didn't have time for that. But it's always a good idea to do a mock-up. But anyway, I am pleased with the shape. It's a little big. Like, I don't have a lot of space in the back here, but it's not that big of a deal. It's not like too big. Like, it's sucking me in enough, not too much. But I'm going to put a hook and eye here and then call it a day. A quick hook and eye, and then it was complete. I really like how this corset turned out. Even though it's a little bit big, it's fine with me since I don't have a lot of squishability anyway. I think it's my singer's lungs. I'm just not able to lace my waist down significantly. It is pretty and I love the flossing and the lace detail, so happy sewist here. thank you so much for watching and spending your time with me. I love hearing from you, so comment down below. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like, subscribe if you haven't, and hit the bell if you'd like to be notified whenever I upload. If you'd like to support the channel further, I have a Ko-fi account, and that is linked down below. Stay tuned because I will have something up every Saturday in December. Next week is my update about my donation to Song, Southerners on New Ground, that I spoke about in my Victorian evening cape video. I will see you again on our next sewing adventure. Bye!